And welcome to this special edition of BDLL Europe for Saturday, June 13th, 2020. How's everybody doing?
Wonderful.
Brilliant.
Hey.
Lights not
Yay.
on.
Hello, everyone.
We are officially open for business, and I actually remembered the sign. Can you believe
Yes.
it? All right. Well, normally we kind of talk about a distro, but I think for this one, for the Europe edition, we're going to probably skip the distro talk, and we'll have that talk during the regular show. So actually that opens up the next 2 hours to talk about whatever we want. But I would like to start out by making an announcement for Linux Spotlight. So I have been doing Linux Spotlight for I don't know how many past couple months, and it's been a awesome thing to do, and I love doing it. But I am slowly being squeezed for time, so I'm not stopping Linux Spotlight. Let's put that out there. But I am going to switch it to an every 2 week schedule, because the video portion of that is very taxing. So as far as time is concerned, and, you know, along with everything else, scheduling and, you know, doing everything else that needs to be done for the show and do it right. And the other thing is that, you know, I don't know, for the last couple of weeks, I've been making mistakes in the spotlights that I probably wouldn't make if I wasn't rushing to get it out on time. And that's one was Leo's episode where the audio on the video portion of it was only coming out of one ear. This past week was a great conversation with Robbie Ferguson. And, you know, the whole conversation was great. And as I edited it, it was perfect. But for some reason, it just didn't come out right. As far as my audio was fine, his audio was out of sync from his video, which was really disappointing. And that's something that I personally can't stand, watching a video like that. So if you listen to the audio portion of it, you didn't even notice anything. If you watch the video portion of it, which is kind of what I concentrate on doing and making it good. But man, I really get upset when I have that out of sync video to watch when somebody's talking. So anyway, the reason I say that is because when you're doing something like this, Linux Spotlight, and you're making it an episode for that person, you want it to be right. And I've been, like I said, been rushing trying to keep that schedule, and I've been making mistakes that I probably wouldn't normally make if I wasn't rushing around. So, like I said, I'm just going to go to a every 2 week schedule, and then that will give me plenty enough time to get it edited, get it done right, and not make some of those mistakes, and hopefully it'll be a better show. So there you go. I don't know what you guys think of it, but, you know.
Well, we're good with that.
We completely understand.
we
You need a
understand,
break,
yeah.
Rocco. The cadence you've been doing the Linux spotlights on is amazing. That's so hard, you know, setting up the interviews and doing all the editing. I understand.
And to be honest, Rocco, I'm with you fully on the production side of things. Something like that is quite hard to edit and produce, and you do such good quality work through those videos that you know, I can fully appreciate and understand how the amount of effort that goes into those. So, you know, I don't expect to see them weekly. I expect, you know, quite happy to see them monthly, weekly, bi-monthly. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to try the every 2 weeks, and that should be fine. As far as time-wise for me, that should like ease up on that a lot. And like I said, the main reason is because, like, if I do any of your guys' show, that's your show. That's something that is focused on you personally, and I don't want that to be bad. I don't want that to be a mistake on my end that I messed this up for you guys. So, yeah. So we're just going to go to every 2 week schedule, and we'll see how that plays out. And if you guys want to give me feedback on it, you can, and we'll go from there. But there are some great guests coming up. Just saying. Maybe.
Yay.
All right. Before we go on, does anybody have any topics they want to bring up?
Shall I start with Mint 20?
Yeah, I think everyone was going to go there.
I had that on the list, but yes. So we covered the whole Linux Mint 20 with snaps on a previous biddo, but I would like to, number one, re talk about it, go over it again, and then our good friend Leo Chavez has posted a workaround for it. So Robin, go ahead.
Yeah, so cheers, Rocco. So I've been testing the XFCE and the Mate editions of the 20 beta, which came out a couple of days ago, over the last few days, and I've been quite annoyed to see that Snap has disappeared. But I have been using this opportunity to think about my workload a lot more, my workflows, and see if I actually do need Snap or not, because to be honest, I find it quite difficult to really understand the differences between Snap and Flatpak, to be perfectly honest. And I'm quite happy with what comes out of the box with most of the distros that I test and use. So this week I've been testing out to 20, and I'm very fast with XFCE because I know XFCE very, very well. Sorry, does someone?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
That's right. Yeah, so the XFCE I know and love very, very well. So I'm quite speedy with how I set that up. And to be honest, Mint is something that a distribution that I don't tend to touch really until betas come around, new versions come around, updates come around. So it's not kind of a daily driver for me. However, using 20 over the last few days, I will say that this is kind of easing me towards using it as my daily driver. Now, when I was installing the packages and I was doing the updates, obviously, a few questions that people have been posting on Twitter this week is, what's the first thing you do when you install a distro? And one of the first things that I always do is check for updates. Now, I was quite shocked to see that people actually, before they check for updates, is they go and add and remove software. And I thought to myself, why do they do that? Because obviously they like to set the distros up to be personalized for themselves, obviously. And some software that comes out of the box with most distros is not great, I will admit. But Snap, having heard about Snap but not being included as part of the app packages in Mint 20, it got me thinking about how I would use this distribution and how I would install it on future hardware as well. And if somebody said to me to like next week, whenever it is they released it, would I recommend Mint 20 to as a kind of a daily distribution? I would probably say yes. However, the Snap side of things would probably niggle me slightly. But that's probably because I'm used to using Snap apps and I'm used to how often they get regularly updated by refreshing the packages and stuff. So using Mate and using XFCE, the main reason I've chosen those two is because I'm not really that much of a lover of Cinnamon. And Cinnamon, I know, obviously comes default with Mint anyway, depending on which obviously distribution you decide to download and install. But a couple of things that niggled me slightly is Snap not being there or knowing it's not there. But I don't know, it just, to me, it just started to feel like a good thing in a way and started really making me think, why do I use Snap? Why do I use Snap? And then I started thinking, should I start to look at the FlatHub website more often now? Start to see what I want to do in an app. Is that app readily available for me in Flatpak form that I could actually just readily go and grab from the software center? And speaking of the software center, it was the first thing that I fired up when I went into Mint 20 this week. And I was quite shocked to discover the variety of apps available to me. If I compared it to Ubuntu, they're probably near the same, but I was able to find what I wanted very, very quickly, grab it, download, and install it. I have absolutely no idea if it's installed the Flatpak or the Snap version, but obviously me knowing that Snap is no longer part of the Mint 20 family, I would have known that that's gone and downloaded the Flatpak version. So, I mean, if I think about my usage over the last few days, installation went flawless, no problems at all whatsoever. NVIDIA and everything else all loaded up perfectly fine. I didn't need to download any codecs. It was all there perfectly. And I was up and running within 20 minutes. And I was able to use it without a problem. I downloaded and installed Vivaldi, the new version of the browser this week. I've been running that for a few days now, and I've seen some vast improvements in that browser, but we can cover that in another topic. And then the other things that I've downloaded is as my favorite radio apps to listen to my internet radio stations as well. So I did all that in Flatpak. I didn't even once have to touch Snap. So I don't know. I'll open it up to you guys and see what kind of you feel about it. But I somehow feel I'm not going to miss Snap, to be perfectly honest.
Well, I think, one, to go back to your question about why people would go to install software before they update, I don't think everybody does, but for those people that do, they may just be under the impression that once they install this distro, that it's already up to date. You know what I mean? They might not know to say, hey, I've installed this distro. Now I got to go update it right away, because that's not on the forefront of your mind. That's just my first thought on that.
Yeah.
But I don't think the question is not whether or not you could live without snaps, or not that there's software that, hey, can I get by without, installing Snap? Number one, there are going to be certain pieces of software that are in the Snap store that may not be in the Flatpaks. But the idea, or I guess my biggest issue with the whole decision, is that I think that you are hurting the people that, okay, so we give Linux Mint to brand new people or people that don't know much about Linux. And those are the people that are actually going to be hurt by it, because if there is software that they use that they can't get through snaps, they're not going to know how to get around that. And I think it just limits them to using only what Linux Mint wants, I guess. And yes, it's their distro and they can do whatever they want. And that's a valid point, because I've heard a couple of people say that this week. But that doesn't mean that I guess what I'm saying is you take away from everybody recommending Linux Mint or it being the first choice now. Because before, it might have been your first choice. Now it may not be your first choice given this decision. I don't know what you guys think.
Well, a new user that comes from Windows probably wouldn't even know what Snap is or Flatpaks. Like they would generally just use the software center. They may not even know how to install other types of software via a tar file or something like that. So personally, I don't think it matters really that well. And I have looked at the comments, on the blog post from Linux Mint, and so far the response seemed really good. A lot of people said that they were absolutely happy with that choice. So if that is what the Linux community wants, I mean, it's fine.
Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see how it plays out in the end. Number one, this isn't even the final decision yet, because it's really not final until it actually releases and they put it through as that. But I guess we'll have to wait and see if their community is in agreement or not. Big Pod, go ahead.
In my opinion, this is a bad decision, and I totally disagree with it. But the reality is that Flatpak and Snap both fill the same place in what they do. But reality is that I personally recommend to everybody Snaps. They, in my opinion and my experience, work better, and that's why I think it is a bad idea to completely remove access to such distribution method just because you do not agree with some of its parts. And currently, it's even we could say fashionable to hate on snaps because they were made by Canonical. So there is probably in the back of their minds also a bit of a reason why they chose it, if not for anything else, to make people seem that you actually listen to them and you score a couple of points. So
yep,
everything is multiple reasons why we cannot just see what they say. There could be something in the background they didn't tell.
All right, Bearded Wonder, go ahead.
Yeah, just going back to what Pi said, I don't think it's a major issue for me if I was installing Linux Mint for a new user that was coming over from Windows. Where it is a big issue for me is it's taking away part of the community choice. There's a particular snap that I use that allows me to download TV programs here in the UK called Get iPlayer. Now I can still get it for Linux Mint because I can go and download the PPA and go through all that, do that through the command line. But Snap, I just search for the snap of Get iPlayer and install it. It's just like using the apt package manager for me for that particular piece of software. And it's alienating some of us who've been with Linux Mint for a long time, and I think that's a problem in the community, that you're taking away some of the choice that we've got when, we've built up a kind of loyalty to Linux Mint over the years, and now we can't, we've got to jump through hoops before we can get a piece of software to work.
Well, I can understand both sides of it. I can understand them wanting to take care of their users, to make sure that nothing happens without their knowledge. But the way they wrote the blog post and the way they said, I forget how it was exactly worded, but it was a back door, basically, to something that was uncalled for, in my opinion, because I don't think that has anything to do with what Snap's about. But the other side of that coin is, I've seen comments that were talking about the fact that, hey, Linux Mint doesn't want you to, they called the whole idea of snaps a proprietary-like system, and yet they want to dictate what software you can install on your computer, which is almost like a proprietary type company. So I'm not saying I agree with either of them. I'm just throwing it out there that I think that it's just a bad situation. We shouldn't be showing people out there, whether they use Linux or not in the community, that, hey, we're going to do all this infighting on whether or not this is allowed in our distro or this is allowed in our distro. Eris, go ahead.
I think this has left the Mint end user in a rough spot, because now that anybody who wants to use Chromium, what is their option? To go around the workaround to remove that file so that they can install the Chromium app from Snap? Or are they going to have to download it from the website and maintain it themselves so that it keeps updating? So I think Mint being a beginner distro, this is a big setback for them, for the end user, which they're trying to help out. And I think this was a big opportunity for Mint to work with upstream. And if they felt that the web browser should have never defaulted to a Snap, they could have helped Ubuntu maintain it. And maybe they would realize all the problems that Ubuntu had maintaining the Chromium package. It wasn't just to force everybody to use Snap for no reason.
Well, Tony, go ahead.
I downloaded the Cinnamon version of Mint 20 2 days ago when it first came out, and I've been running it ever since. And I wasn't sure whether it would cause me a problem by not having access to Flatpaks. Well, I don't use a massive amount of software, but all the software I wanted, I got. And I noticed 2 or 3 of the items that I got were Flatpaks, where they may well have been snaps in the past. But they do say on their site, although I didn't read it fully, that there's a workaround which they've highlighted or something. So they are still giving you a choice, but it does seem a bit of a weird thing for an open source company to do, to sort of limit what you can do and make it a little bit difficult for you to actually do it. I don't use Chromium, so that wasn't an issue for me. I use Google Chrome, but only because I need to get certain websites put into a language that I can understand because of where I live. Otherwise, I may well use Firefox or possibly Chromium. But if you want to use Chromium, I can see that would be a problem. But the system runs fine, and I've had absolutely no issues with it. And it certainly wouldn't stop me running it or put me off running it. But other people will obviously have different opinions.
All right, MC, go ahead.
Well, Tony, Distro Hopper Tony said the thing I was going to focus on too was the fact that by taking out snaps, you're taking away choice. You're taking away something that what Linux is really all about is the user's choice. And you're making the user jump through hoops beyond being able to just go and say install, sudo apt install snapd. I can understand if a distro doesn't want snaps installed by default, but actively making it so that you can't install snaps without going through some type of workaround is, I think, going far beyond what you need to do.
Well, I think that I had said the other week when we talked about it was that there should be some type of easy solution as far as here's a warning, here's what this wants to do. Do you really want to do it? Do you really want to allow this to happen? And let the user make that choice rather than automatically say, no, we're not going to allow this to happen. But in fairness, Tony, there is a workaround. Bearded Wonder, you want to let us know what Leo found out?
I haven't actually got access to it at the moment, but I can, if you give me a couple of minutes, I can go and have a look.
Okay. There is a workaround that Leo Chavez from the Mintcast found, and it has to do with editing a system preference file. You have to edit it manually. And for us, it shouldn't be a problem. For any of us here, it's one line. It's no big deal. But I think the bigger thing is, like we've been talking about, is the people that we're going to suggest Linux Mint to. This even one line in the terminal is not going to be okay for them. Anybody else? Anybody else have any thoughts on Linux Mint or the snap issue? Well, rather than belay the point, like I said, it's one preference file that you have to do, and I'll post a link in the YouTube chat for it. So, on to Brave browser. So, this is a subject that is kind of upsetting, but I think that it's also been a little bit blown out of proportion. I don't know if you guys have read any of the news about Brave browser adding referral links into their browser. Well, it was one. So let's get the story straight. What they did was when you went to this specific cryptocurrency site and you typed the URL in, it automatically inserted, it took you to the right place, but it automatically inserted a referral link for the Brave browser, because if you visit that site, you get paid, or they get paid, I should say. Brave does. So that was very wrong. It's actually pretty terrible. But after reading the article and watching videos on it, how do you go about listening to people when they say, hey, we made a mistake like this? So they said that the CEO of Brave came out and said that it was definitely a mistake and they fixed it. But do you believe something like that when that happens? Do you say, hey, yeah, that's all right, and move on? What do you guys think?
You have to take on face value if it is actually mistake or if it was an actual decision, and when they saw the backlash, they decided we're gonna say it's a mistake. You have to know, you have to see the difference, and I don't know if there is a difference there. So,
all right, Eris.
I think this is um, people are like starting to less trust the browser because this is not the first mistake in a sense. I know that in the past they were changing ads to their own ads on websites, and people thought that was not correct, and all these little mistakes appear to be policies that later are starting to be shown to be mistakes or expressed as mistakes. So I think so far nothing has been like overly bad. I mean, this is bad, but it's not like they're stealing people's data or something like that. But it's just it leaves a bad feeling towards the browser, I think, at the end of the day.
Well, it's you hit it exactly what I was going to say. That this wasn't a privacy issue. It's not like they installed any spyware or they sent you to different sites. It took you to the same site you were looking to go to. And I do want to point out that they have many referral links, Brave does, for websites that they get paid from. And this was the only site that was doing that. So it's not like all of their referral sites were getting referred back to them. So it wasn't a system-wide thing. So that kind of lends you to believe that it was a mistake because it was only one.
Or it was just a test.
Or it was just a
see
test.
how people react.
But see, that's exactly my point, Big Pod. And that's exactly what Eris just brought up. It's the trust issue. Now you're checking, over your shoulder to see, maybe it was a mistake, but now you have to look back and see, well, do I really trust Brave or not? And I think that's the biggest issue.
That is the issue for me, because now you've said that, and now I read about this. I've lost faith in Brave as a browser at the moment.
Yep. And that's a shame because it was one of the best ones out there. Like it was a top contender to compete with Firefox and Chrome, in my opinion. It's just a shame. Osed, go ahead.
Whether it was a mistake or a misexecuted test, it's something that you would expect from Brave. But if they mention that in their like the way they try to sell you bad, like if they said that we will insert referrer links into your search results, I'm totally okay with that. But doing it without user consent is plain wrong.
Yep. Agreed. Anybody else have any thoughts on the Brave situation? Is that something that you would use now? Would you use Brave now knowing that they did this? Is it that big of an issue? Monica, go ahead.
Yes. Yes, I would. I mean, I do use Brave. I still use it, and I plan on using it in the future because, I mean, what are the choices beside Firefox? You have Vivaldi, which is actually just freeware. It isn't, entirely free and open source software. And then you have Chromium or Chrome, which it's basically Google, which, I mean, from a privacy perspective, that's also useless. And then you have Firefox, but my main issue with Firefox is that the video quality isn't that great. Sometimes my screen cuts up for some reason if I scroll down a website page or something like that. But I as a user of the Brave browser, I am a little bit disappointed, but
what's the alternative?
Yeah, there isn't really that much alternatives for me personally.
All right, Monica, go ahead.
I think that this seems to have kind of some ties to the issues with Mint, that I think if you're transparent about it and also give people that choice, And if it was like, hey, this is, this is a finances thing. If you want to opt in to help us, you can. But if you're concerned, you can opt out. Here's how that data is used. And it seems like that would be, it's an honest approach. And yes, maybe it would turn some people off. But also, I mean, as we've seen, running these browsers is really expensive. And if you want to be able, and sometimes just to keep them solvent, these are kind of the hard things they have to do. But I think, once again, giving people the choice to do so and being kind of clear why this is something that's being done, I think then it's the harder choice, but sometimes it might be the better one.
Agreed. Totally agree. Big Pod, go ahead.
Well, I didn't use Brave in the past because of some other mistakes they did, because of which I didn't trust them. So I will and still use Firefox until possibly when Edge comes, and that's I'm gonna do just to anger some people.
Jill, go ahead.
Yeah, so I've been using Brave for a very long time, actually, since it came out, and I love it as another Chromium option. Um, but and this, the fact that they were transparent about it and they knew they made a mistake is good enough, really, for me. I'll still continue to use it because if a lot of people don't know, it is already a pay to surf browser. So it's already has that built in, and that's part of how they make money. And but I do like lot of the things the browser does bring to the table, like the Tor security.
Yep.
That's actually really nice, and the fact that it is so fast because it blocks all the ads. So there's a lot of advantages to it than disadvantages to me. But
well, I think their ad program is a perfect example of being honest with people, saying, hey, you're going to get ads, but they're going to be our ads rather than just random ads on the internet.
Yeah.
And then you let people make that choice of whether they want to run it or not. Eris, go ahead.
Yes.
I use Firefox and many different profiles for different things, but I think for Google services, I have to use a Chromium-based one. So I would continue to use Brave for that, just because Google uses their dominance in the market to have features and websites that is not compatible with Firefox. But I think for that it would be good, but I wouldn't recommend it anymore, I think.
All right, Osed, go ahead.
I don't see Brave as an alternative to Firefox or Chrome. I like the only benefit that Brave has in my eye is the fact that you can earn money while browsing the internet. But I'm not sure if that's the case or if anyone uses Brave exclusive features. But I don't see the point of Brave, honestly, especially since many well-respected open source browsers exist, whether they are based on a Firefox base or on a Chromium base.
Yep. Well, me personally, I don't think that I would stop using Brave because of the alternative issues. If you're not a Firefox fan, Brave is probably your best alternative, and it's definitely unsettling, and it's frustrating when you see companies make these stupid mistakes that shouldn't happen. Like, you sometimes say to yourself, how could they let that happen? Like, this is so blatant and so wrong. How could you let that happen? But I don't think it would stop me from using Brave because, like I said, I think if you're not using Firefox, it's the best alternative out there.
But wow, what's the reason? Like, yeah, if you're not using Firefox, but you have like options like ungoogled Chromium, you have Concours, you have Vivaldi, even though it's not open source. You have many options, but like, why is Brave your number one? What does it have over other alternatives?
Well, I think that the one thing that it has is the feature set that you're looking for. You know, you mentioned some of these other ones, and I haven't tried all of them. Like, I'm not completely sure about the ungoogled Chromium or whatever you had mentioned there. But like the regular browsers, like the GNOME browser, Midori, some of these other ones just don't have the feature set, like maybe watching videos, streaming Netflix. Not that I even have a Netflix account, but the idea is that you run into less trouble with the Brave browser. It allows you to have all of the extensions that you need from the store. It just gives you more flexibility in everything that you're doing. It doesn't have the issues that some of the other browsers are plagued with, in my opinion, in my experience.
Yeah, so true, Rocco. Yeah, and the other thing is as well, you can install it without it having to be a snap. So for those that were complaining about that,
Yep.
you can install it as a deb or whatever, however you like.
Yep. And I do actually like the idea of their ad system. I
Mm-hmm.
do like the idea that they would be replacing random ads, so that you don't get these ridiculous ads. That's, you know, I mean, I don't know if you've ever ran without like a pop-up blocker or an ad blocker or of some type, but man, you can get some weird, ridiculous ads out there. And like I said, I do like that idea, and that's another plus for them. So, Dave Jones is here. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good, Rocco. How are you?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Hey, you got any thoughts on Brave browser, or we had originally talked about Linux Mint Snaps?
Well, Brave, I was a little disheartened with the news that I heard about Brave. I'll be honest, I've never really liked their business model, so I never really used it, and just how it was, how do you know, a lot of the things that they would do with privacy, I would with like maybe blocking JavaScript sometimes and things like that, I would find it a little difficult to use on certain websites. So I never really used it.
Well, I think that's what a lot of the lesser browsers are plagued with, is some of those issues of not working on websites and not displaying things correctly, not, you know, having issues with videos and audio, and yeah. So there you go. Anybody else want to get in on the Brave conversation? Oh, said, go ahead.
I think that your view of the lesser browser is kind of skewed, especially towards the desktop environment ones like Concours and Midoni, or I don't know their names, the GNOME browser. But for me, what I see as an alternative is Chromium, Vivaldi, Opera, things like that. Because as you said, like those browsers feature set is very limited. But when you compare it to Chromium, for example, it can do everything. You can add in extensions, you can play DRM content, you can use Flash. It's basically Chrome, you know.
Yes, I agree that Chromium is up there, but I still think there are certain features like the ad, and I got to go back to that. The ad idea that they have makes it a step above Chromium, because when you're in Chromium, you always have, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if anybody else does, but when you're in Chromium, don't you feel like you have Google there with you too? So I don't know.
That's what there's. I don't think you know about that project, but there exists a project called Ungoogled Chromium. It's basically Chromium with all the Google bits removed. I'll send you I'll send the link.
Will you send a link, and I will definitely check that out.
Yeah, one second.
It is awesome, but it's still not as fast as Brave.
No,
Brave is still faster because like Rocco was saying, because the whole background on Brave is blocking ads. As a result of it, they've really tweaked it so good that it's so fast. even with, using Firefox with ad blockers and whatnot. Brave is just really fast.
Yep. There's Leo Chavez.
My ears were burning. I had to come check.
Hey, Leo.
we might have mentioned your name once or twice.
So is everybody happy with Chromium now?
Well, we were talking about Brave and I don't know if you heard about the referral link issue that they had.
Yeah, I did. I use Brave a lot, and I've been using Firefox a little bit more lately, but I'm sure it's fine. I'm just letting the dust settle before diving back in.
Would that stop you from using it, Leo?
To be honest, not really. I mean, it's just one of those things that if there's one, I feel like there might be more issues behind the scenes that haven't been uncovered just yet, and I'd like to wait a little bit before I continue, I guess, supporting. But I mean, they pay you, so it's not that bad, I guess. Kind of depends on how you like to look at that kind of thing, because they'll pay you in that back currency, which is kind of nice.
I've never taken the time to figure out the whole currency thing that they've put up there. I know that some people, like I was actually watching the video by Techlore, and that is a great privacy and security YouTube channel, and I will put a link for the video about Brave in there, and you can then go to his channel. But I was watching the video on Brave on his channel, and he mentioned the fact that the Brave browser is like one of his biggest places where he gets money from. And I've never actually taken the time to look into it or, see how it actually works. But
I imagine it's those micropayments. So the way, do you know how that works?
I do not.
It's actually kind of cool. So basically what happens is when you sign up for the Bat Wallet, they will show you ads. I think by default it's 2 per hour, and it's in your notification center. So it's part of the system at that point. But they'll pay you 5 cents or 2 cents to see the ad. I don't know if it's any better if you click on it or what the deal is. But if you look, you can actually see your ad history, and it says clicked on this, ignored this. So they know how you interact with it. And then so they pay you a few pennies to look at this ad. And then at the end of every month, or at the beginning of every month, it's like on the 5th or something, they'll pay out. And for me, if I'm using Brave as my main browser, I'll usually get like 30 or 40 BAT. It's their token.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't change it, you will automatically spend the BAT that you earn sending it to other people that have a BAT enabled website, or you can tip people in Reddit. I don't know if you guys remember back when crypto was getting really, really big. There was Bitcoin tipping, Litecoin tipping, and Dogecoin tipping. And so it's basically that idea, but integrated directly into the browser. And if you want to tip somebody, you just click it, throw them 5 BAT, and step away instead of giving gold, I guess.
Right.
On Reddit, that's an alternative to do something like that. And I think that's great because it takes the worry that we have about how the content creators are going to get paid. It takes that off the table entirely. It's just part of the browser. You pay these people directly, and you don't even think about it.
Huh. Gonna have to check into that.
Yeah, that didn't mean to sound like an ad about that, but I mean,
yeah,
it's a really good idea, and that's why the whole affiliate thing is worrying me, because I don't want this good idea, whether Brave does it or somebody else, but I don't want the good idea to go away if if there's a huge pitchfork rally about this thing.
Yep. Well, I guess we're gonna again have to wait and see. Osei, go ahead.
As I said before, the only standing feature about Brave I found is their reward system, but they don't mention any figures in their website, and the only figures I could get is externally from people who use Brave mostly for what do you call it, for referral services. So like they have their own website and stuff, and they refer people. So they say I get like $50 a month, 60, something like that. But I couldn't find any reliable source about the income that you get from Brave. And since I'm seeing that a lot of people here are using Brave. I'm wondering, what's your experience with Brave rewards? How much have you been getting? Like I plopped down the values that Leo gave, the 2 cents, 2 cents per ad with 2 ads per hour. It only gives $14 a month at best. So what has been your experience so far?
Well, obviously I don't have much experience with it, but I thought, Leo, there was something more to that. Like, it wasn't just when you click on an ad, it was you could hand out your link of your Brave link, referral link, and you would gain money from that somehow. I never really looked into it a lot. I just remember hearing about that.
Yeah, as far as I know, that's I did not look into how to set that up, but that's the other half of it. If you want to receive BAT, you enable your website by doing whatever magic they've got, add that to your website, and then it's the way I understand it. It's basically just sticking your wallet address out there so people can send money to your wallet.
Right.
So if you're familiar with cryptocurrency at all in any way, how to move it around, then I mean it's that
totally
idea.
Not.
So I mean it's no different than I think Stripe or something like that. Instead of dealing with a plastic card, you're just dealing with bits on the wire, and it's all stored in your computer instead of in your wallet.
Yep.
But the same idea.
Same idea. All right. Anybody else?
Is the figure you mentioned including referrer links, or is it just BAT from ads?
As far as I know, it's just from ads that you can earn it unless people pay you. Like if you create something and people pay you in BAT, that's one way that you can do it. But mostly it's just ads as far as I understand.
All right. Anybody else on the Brave issue?
Just a thought here. I wonder, it seemed to me, as we talked about this thing, it seemed to me most of the people who uses Brave tend to stick to it, including me, of course. And I kind of wonder why, like, what is it about Brave that, attracts people and, keeps people? Because I don't, to me, it seems like Brave haven't even lost many users over this thing. Not as much as I suppose other browsers would have lost.
Well, my question to you guys is, would you feel the same way about this situation if it was Firefox that did that? Does Firefox have a better name or better place in your mind in the open source community, that it wouldn't be a big deal if Firefox had done this, made a mistake like this, and moved on? Because they have made some pretty, in my opinion, some pretty bad privacy security decisions in the past. So would you feel the same way about Firefox if they had done it?
Maybe.
Yeah, I'd probably give them a bit more of a pass than Brave, to be honest. I mean, they're the boss one, but
right.
I think I'm giving Brave a pass on this mostly because it's ads are built into it. That's part of when you get into Brave, I think it's pretty in your face about, do you want your BAT wallet? Do you want your BAT wallet? And then the next question is, how many ads do you want? So, ads and things like affiliate links are just, they feel like they're kind of baked in already. So you know what to expect.
Right. Aris, go ahead.
I think if it was Firefox, I think it would come into play that Firefox, it's a different web engine, and that always keeps the standards going for the web, not just Google dictating everything. I think that would come into play. But yeah, I think it would be bad for Firefox too. I also think it would be bigger news than it is than the Brave browser, because Firefox has a bigger user base. And I think other times for Firefox, like that Mr. Robot extension, I couldn't describe it any better than just being incompetence, because they didn't gain anything from it, but they got a lot of fallout from it.
Yeah,
that was not great.
I don't want to drag that whole story up, but man, that was pretty bad in my opinion, if you ask me. Just saying.
Leo, teaching moment.
Okay.
I'm probably not the only one, but what the heck is a BAT wallet?
So basically it's just a hash, really, but the idea.
What's a hash?
So, okay, you really want to get into this?
Yes,
we can do this.
I want to know the basics.
All right. Well, without defining hash, because you get into a lot of fun stuff at that point. But a hash is basically a unique signature that identifies you, or in this case, your wallet. And basically, what it is when someone can get a hold of your hash or your wallet address, then they can, if they have currency, send it to you. They can send you. Let's take Bitcoin because that's the one that everybody's at least heard of. You have a wallet, I have a wallet. They both have addresses. And let's say I've got 100 Bitcoin and I want to give you 50. I literally just in my wallet, whether that's on your phone or you have one on your desktop, or it's just a piece of software that that has your keys.
Okay.
Your keys are basically the thing that protect your wallet. This is how no one can steal your wallet. So you then say, all right, Bitcoin network, I want to send to this address 50 Bitcoin. And after a few minutes, it should show up in your wallet. That's the basics of it.
Okay.
Mining and all that other stuff is a whole nother thing.
So this bat wallet is Bitcoin, or?
It is a different currency. So just like we have the yen and the US dollar and the British pound and all that stuff, the cryptocurrencies are their own thing, and BAT is to Bitcoin the way that a yen is to the dollar.
I got you. I asked because I'm a Scotsman. It's very hard to get into my wallet.
Maybe if it's digital, it won't be so hard.
See, you learn something new every day because I'm Peter. I'm in the same boat. I know nothing about this stuff, so that's awesome, Leo. I love it.
I'm just saying, one Doge will always be one Doge. Doge
Yeah.
Well, Leo, we talked about Linux Mint and their snap foo that they had.
Oh, that's perfect. Please tell me you titled something that.
No, I did not title it. But you found a workaround for it, so you want to explain that, please?
So I was okay. So originally, when I read that thing at Clem's blog post, it really seemed very. I didn't exactly know what he was after. I knew he didn't want snaps, but I didn't know he'd go so far as to block it. The way that I read it was, and honestly, it's just the way that I read it. To be honest with you, he said that he was going to block Snapd, but then in the next sentence, he said that he was going to prevent apt from letting Chromium or any package install Snapd. Well, he says behind your back, but I mean, that's debatable, I guess. So I just brushed it off, and I was like, okay, it's going to be just like Linux Mint 19, and you just apt install Snapd and call it a day, right? Well, turns out, and by the way, Germany has the ISOs faster than everybody else. I love this. I was sitting there waiting for the beta, like had 5 tabs open from different places that host the images, and I'm like just refreshing them all, just refreshing. Finally, I found one, downloaded it, installed it because I wanted to check on this. I needed to know. First thing I did, app install Snapd, and it said something to the effect of Snapd can't be found, something like that. And I was like, oh no, so there really is something. So I dug into apt, what is it? Etsy apt preferences D. That's where you go if you want to make apt behave differently. And I figured if he did this is where he would have put that in there. Luckily enough for me, there was a file called nosnap.pref. I left it out, and turns out, yeah, he actually describes his stance, why it's this way, how you can fix it. There are two different ways to fix it, and the easiest way for people to just be able to hit the ground running if you want snaps, because if you look at the forums, most people are pretty okay with this. On Reddit, it's kind of mostly on the Flatpak side, but more half and half. But the idea is if you just delete that file, everything works at that point. There's no update you got to do. You don't have to reboot, nothing. Just delete the file, sudo apt install Snapd, and everything works. That's pretty much it. And I think I'd posted out the exact file path. So if you copy and paste the command in my tweet, that does it.
You want me to copy and paste from the internet?
Of course. Of course. Why else?
No, I think, well, we have already discussed a lot of it, but what do you think the chances are of Clem deciding to put a checkbox in the settings somewhere to allow it to happen, or something easier than going into a system file and deleting a folder or deleting a file or changing a line of code in that file or whatever.
The chances, I don't know. I feel like if I'm being cynical, I think the chances are pretty low that he would do something like that. I want him to do that. That would be the perfect solution. If there was a toggle, do you want Snapd? Do you know what Snapd is? Click here to learn more. Do you want Snapd? If that would be, I think, the best solution, outside of just letting people install Snapd if they want it. I don't know. I feel like chances are pretty low, though. He's not happy with Snapd.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what are you going to do?
The fix.
The fix. That's it.
If you want Snapd. Yeah.
Yeah. We could talk about it all day long, but it ain't going to change anything. And like I said, we don't know for sure until it actually releases.
Exactly. As far as the beta is concerned, there is no toggle.
Right.
There may be changes in the final release, but as far as the beta is, there is nothing.
All right. So I've been bringing up topics I want to talk about. What do you guys want to talk about? What have you guys been up to?
There's something happy that was just announced.
Bring it up.
Okay, so Linux now accounts for 3.17% of all desktop operating systems in May, which is up from 2.87% in April.
3.1.
Yes, that is absolutely wonderful. And I know a lot of it has to do, of course, with the pandemic, and people are home installing Linux because they're curious about this OS they've been hearing about, and they're at home from work and want to try the desktop version of the operating system they use at work. So this the one happy thing of the pandemic.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So what do you guys think? Is that something that that number grows or it goes down?
I think it's awesome.
It's gonna grow. Yeah.
It's gonna grow. It's gonna grow.
Yeah.
It's gonna keep going up.
We've got so many distros being launched right now.
Yeah.
It seems. I mean, I said in a tweet on my account this week, I said, "This is definite. 2020 is definitely turning out to be the Linux year."
Yes.
Forget the pandemic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Linux is keeping me busy with my hobby at the moment, and I'm absolutely loving it. Yeah. So
yeah. I'm sorry, Robin. I just interrupted you.
No, I was just gonna say, I'm just thinking that that's such fantastic news to hear that it's growing and growing and growing, and I'll be quite happy to see that hit that 4% peak in the next 6 months. Even more.
Yeah. So true. And the fact that Linux is being pre-installed on hardware, that's huge. Lenovo, Dell, the Pinebook, the whole, that is all helping with the ecosystem and bringing desktop to the forefront.
And that's another thing to mention as well. Hardware.
Oh,
yes.
Look at that.
Yay, Kubuntu Focus. Cool.
That is a test machine that I got from
Yay!
them. So I will
Awesome.
be testing that out. I actually opened it and tried to take some, I'm just terrible at making unboxing videos. So I don't know if that will ever release, but I do intend on doing a good review on it. And if you guys have any questions on, on it, anything you want me to check out in particular, just let me know. Because I don't know. For right now, it is absolutely fabulous. I haven't dug into the workflows yet, but that's such a powerful machine. And it's a beautiful machine.
You got the beast.
Yep. Definitely would be on the list to buy if I was in the market for a laptop like that.
What kind of price is it?
To be honest with you, now that you caught me off guard, Tony, I don't know.
I think
Tony,
it's over 2,000.
Yeah, I was going to say, Tony, it varies depending on what you want. So if you go onto the Focus website, you get the basic specs, and then you can add on top of that. And as you do that, the numbers go up and up and up. So when I started adding on memory, SSDs, and God knows what, I was well into the £2,000.
Sounds like Entroware. As soon as you start adding,
it was competing against the MacBook, but I will say it's a really beast of a machine to get if you want it. Yeah.
So my idea is to put DaVinci Resolve on here and see how well it handles that and on a rendering.
Yeah.
It will work, definitely.
But Tony, to start out, the starting price, I guess, is $17.95. So,
which is just under 2,000, and that's good. That's good.
That's steep, not good.
Yeah.
But
that's good for the quality of what you're getting, because it is really a workstation.
Yeah,
this is considering that you can get an XPS 13 or 15 for a couple of $100 less. It's really steep. Starting at 1,700 is a lot.
But unlike a Chromebook that only lasts you 5 years.
I don't know of a Chromebook that starts at 17,000. I'm sorry.
Well, I think once you compare
computers,
if you compare the specs to any of the other laptops that I have priced it against, it's right around the same. Yeah. So I would have to look on the Dell XPS page to compare it, spec for spec. But because this starts out with 16 gigabytes of memory, an SSD and everything else that you would want in it.
Well, if they had like a bare bones low spec model for like 1,000 for 1,000 1,100, something like that, it's like it sounds much better. Like saying starting at 1,700 is really scary.
Well,
honestly.
I think this is not for the everyday user. I said I think
Yeah,
it's for like a power user, developer, somebody that really needs a powerful machine, and those types of people they know that's where a starting price is going to land when they go looking for a laptop. The thing that sets the Focus apart is the actual workflows, which I haven't dove into yet, but they set up for you so that, if it's an audio video workflow, certain programs are installed and set up for you, so you don't have to go out and find them, install them, and make sure they work for them on the machine. So, all right. Anything else? What do you guys want to talk about? Leo, what do you got going on, dude?
Oh, wow. I don't know. Not a whole lot, really. Just trying to be a lazy Saturday. We started burning, so I thought I'd come hang out. We actually got a couple of people coming on the show tomorrow. Dan Washko from the Linux Link Tech Show, and one of our community members, Dale, and we're going to talk about window managers. Does anybody use window managers here?
Yes.
Ooh.
So, Jill would be the one to talk to.
Well, good. So I need you to sell me on these. I think like I can see their value because I mean, you just keep your hands on the keyboard, you keep getting work done. You don't have to worry too much about what the desktop environment is doing. You can control it there. Is that really the big selling point, or is there more to it than that?
Given Tom's handle, surely he's an i3.
Well, there's that, and just for me, it's just the savings on performance and memory, and because I was using Linux at the very beginning, and coming from Unix and DOS and Windows, and wanting to be able to render as fast as I could. Today, of course, it's not as it's still important, but not as important. But I like the configurability of them. My top two are Window Maker and Flexbox, and I like i3. I like Awesome. I like a minimal desktop environment. That's normally what I run.
If you have multiple monitors, they make using multiple monitors so much easier.
Exactly. I run Window Maker. Right now I've got 4 monitors hooked up.
Wow.
But yeah, and actually those desktops were the first that supported multi-monitor and much more quickly when Zynorama was a thing.
Okay, so I guess if you were an early adopter of multiple monitors, it was kind of an easy choice back then.
It definitely was, because most of the larger DEs didn't support multi-monitor too well, so that was definitely a thing. And I just like the geekiness and being able to hack them and configure. I mean,
it's true. It's true.
I have on my Google Drive, I have all my different all my window maker configs, all my Flexbox configs. So when I move from one computer to another, I can just copy and paste them and not have to, reconfigure every time. But
that answers the question of in a room full of Linux users, how do you flex your nerd cred, right? Because in a room full of Windows users, you're like, oh, I use Linux, and then there you go, you're already done.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, in a room full of Linux people, it's either I use Arch, by the way, or I use a window manager, right?
Yes, exactly.
Well, I love i3. I just have never taken the time to set it up, because it's not a simple, hey, I'm going to put in i3 and everything's going to work the way I want it. You got to learn this system.
Yeah.
You got to learn how to configure it to where you want it to be. And even though I had tried it, I don't know, a couple months ago, and I really do love the concept of it, I just have trouble getting it to where I want it to be and still be able to work and do the show and everything else. So I just really never gave it the time.
That, I think, is in my exact position right now, because I'm using i3, I think through Regolith. Is that?
Yep.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
But, so, I mean, it's all set up for me. So I already didn't have to slog through uphill both ways in snow with no shoes, right? Like I'm okay on that. But you got to memorize. It's a lot of just muscle memory that you're going to have to build up to be able to use it effectively.
Yes.
And until you get that, it's rough.
Well, that's the thing. I installed i3 on this main machine, on Pop, and you can boot into it. But I can go into it and I'll, hey, oh yeah, I remember that key. I remember that key. But to actually memorize it and have it there for everyday use is a totally different story, because I'll boot out of it, go back into Pop, and then by the time I get back into i3, I'll forget what I learned before, and then I got to relearn it all the time. So it's like, yeah.
I think that's when you start with i3, when you start customizing the config file, when you start doing that, that's when you'll start to remember the key bindings, because helps puts in the muscle memory.
But Dave, it's so like such a giant wall. Like when you get into i3, it's just blank. Like everything's blank. There's nothing there. And I've tried Arco. Arco's a really good i3 version. And Regolith is another one. But it's still, for somebody that doesn't know and is starting out, it's still a big wall to climb over. Once you get over it, and you're right, the config would definitely help as far as remembering it. But man, open spaces there. Big
Yeah,
Pod,
Rocco, you could try the Awesome Desktop, because it's really good for
what do you
has
like
the
that better
different.
than i3?
Yeah, because it allows you to do, traditional full screen, or, you can configure how you want to tile. You can in i3 too, but awesome. It's good. It's better for a beginner to start.
That may be something to check out. Yep. Big Pod, go ahead.
Well, there is when we're talking about window managers, there are two types of floating, which is your normal. You have windows you can move around with your mouse. Then you have tiling, which are the harder ones, where you tile your windows and you set where you want them to be.
Yeah, but can't you do a floating window like in i3? Like, doesn't i3
you
do
can,
both?
Yeah.
You can, but it's again it's mainly a tiling window manager, so you mainly tile. But one of the big points for window managers, you can completely configure the whole environment however you want, because with desktop environment, the environment is in many ways preset for you. Whereas in window manager, you can select whatever menu you want, or whatever panel you want, and all that. And I personally use a floating window manager called OpenBox.
Yeah, I love OpenBox too.
Which is actually a base for LXD and LXQT in many versions. And it is a great window manager. It allows me to move windows around however I want with my mouse. But at the start of it is just a blank screen, and I have to set up everything myself.
Yep.
But a great resource for floating, for OpenBox, and for many tiling window managers is DistroTube, and in his channel.
Yep.
He has many of these
Dude,
config.
I don't know how he comes up with different videos on tiling window managers all the time. Like every day, it seems like he releases another video on another window manager.
Yeah, he has been using tiling window managers for quite a while now, a couple of years, and well, he often enough switches between them, and he has basically streamlined the experience for himself. So he uses same key bindings, same. So basically, for him, nothing changes. Maybe just looks change a bit, and that's it. But for him, not much is and that's why if you go check out his configs, you will see that most of the key bindings are the same in all of them. And again, as Jill said, for first time use, I would recommend Awesome as a tiling window manager. But I personally don't like i3. It's, to me, never felt great. If I go tiling window manager, I personally use Qtile. It's Python-based window manager, tiling window manager. That was recommended by DT.
Well, the point you made earlier about OpenBox and i3, actually Arco has OpenBox installed. I think it's OpenBox, i3, and something else.
XFCE.
XFCE, yes, that's what it is. So that and that is customized. That isn't just like a blank screen, but you still have to learn and memorize whatever setup that Eric has put in there. So I just find, like I said, the time is the biggest issue, with this and Linux Spotlight and everything else that's going on in life and stuff. There's just not enough time in the day to do everything.
Mouse.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, I love the idea. I love the idea of it, dude. I love the idea, especially like right now. So I went down to one monitor, and with this show right here, I must have, 12, 13 windows open, and they're all kind of like spaced right where I can click on the edge of one of them to get and move around. And it would be great if I was using i3. I love that idea of putting them in a certain spot, having it a certain size. But man, that would be a lot of setup to learn and memorize so I could actually do the show without having everybody see it messed up.
Aw.
Rocco, have you tried the tiling feature in the new Pop OS?
Pop OS.
I did try the tiling feature, and I have to say that although it's very nice, it does have some glitches in it, where if you pull windows back off, they don't completely tile right, and they want to remember certain tilings that you don't want it to remember type thing. So there is glitches with it, but like I said, it's even with that. I have to be sure. I have to be 100% sure that if I was going to use that, like say during a show, that it would not fail, and that I would remember how to get around, and be able to say let people in the waiting room. So I got to switch back and forth between Zoom, the document, OBS to make sure it's running right, and I would have to make sure that it was 100% before I would put it into this. So there you go.
Rocco, I have a funny joke.
What?
We should have you do a biddle in rat poison. We'll see how that goes.
Oh my gosh. It's not. Look, I have enough.
Jill, don't.
I have enough issues, and I make enough mistakes that I don't need outside help. Eris, go ahead.
I posted the link. Distro made a video called "A Comprehensive Guide to Tiling Window Managers," and he goes over all the differences of the window managers. I personally prefer window managers that does automatic tiling, because I think i3 you gotta select like I want to tile vertically now, I want to tile like horizontally, and it's like it doesn't do it by itself. And I think for me at least, you lose the speed wise of an automatic tiler like Awesome or DWM or something like that.
So with Awesome, you can open up say files window, and you can tell it beforehand, this is where I want it all the time.
Let's say it splits up, let's say like half the screen on the left, it leaves one window, and then on the right it does like a pile of them, and that's the stack and master setting. And there's other settings, like there's one where you can have everything maximized and things like that. So some of the window managers, you have to specifically tell them like, I want the tile to the right, I want the tile to the left. And I personally don't like that. But I think I haven't used too many window managers, but the one thing that I find very, very appealing is the fact that if I configure the window manager, I can just copy over that config and I'm done. I don't have to reconfigure everything again with like a traditional desktop environment.
Is there one that so for my windows that I have Zoom in a specific size for OBS. So if I maximize this window right now, it's going to show at OBS maximize, it's going to cut off some people. So it has to stay at this exact dimensions for OBS to pick it up the right way. Is there a tiling window manager that allows you to specify this window in this area and maybe have, like, say, the YouTube chat really tiny on this side rather than quarter tiling or half tiling?
Yeah, you can do that. Basically, you need to write your own tile configuration, how you want a tile specific.
It's simple. Just write your own config, right?
Yeah. You have to do some work yourself. You have to do some work in Plasma yourself or in GNOME.
Yeah, you're right.
You
well,
have to
actually,
edit
I don't
the
have
file.
to do anything in GNOME. It just works, dude. Just saying.
Well, it sounds intimidating. It sounds intimidating, but it's just like specifying some things in the config file. It's not hard at all. Like you say, you say the program Zoom, make it take half the screen, or make it take from X to Y, or something like that. It's not that hard.
Yeah, I don't think it's. I don't think it would be overly hard. Like I said, I just think the idea of taking time out and making the time to do it is the biggest issue. So,
on that note, has anyone tried learning alternative keyboard layouts? Colmac, Dvorak, Workman, anything else? Anything like that?
No, I have not.
I have enough trouble with
I have
my
years to go.
Right?
So we're going further down that rabbit hole of in a room full of tiling window manager Linux users.
Yes.
How do you get that nerd cred? Yeah, use Dvorak.
The Dvorak is the one that I've used.
I already have different layout than most of you anyway, so.
What do you have,
Big Pod?
What do you have?
I have Quartz layout is basically Z and Y are changed and some other letters are since it's Slovenian language and Slavic language based keyboard. So it's a bit different. So yeah.
I think one thing about different keyboard layouts is even though you may or may not increase your speed, that will mess up if you use keyboard shortcuts because the keys will be differently.
Yeah.
There are a couple of there are a couple of keyboard layouts that have the keys arranged in such a way that it wouldn't mess up your shortcuts. For example, Colmac retains the ZX C and V for undo, copy and paste and cut. It retains them in the same place, so it wouldn't be affected. I wasn't sold out in trying another layout, but I read this quote from the Colmac website, and it made sense to me. It says, "Learning Colmac is a one-time investment that will allow you to enjoy faster and pain-free typing for the rest of your life." Which, when I think about it, like hindering your typing performance for like a week or 2 weeks, hindering your performance for 2 weeks, but getting pain-free typing and faster typing and more ergonomic typing in the future is a worthy investment. Especially since you can flex the fact that you use Colmac on other people.
Well, if you want to then go into something like more healthy typing, it would be better to just buy an ergonomic keyboard first of all, something ergodox and stuff like that. That would be probably first task when you want ergonomic typing, and then you have to actually run a special layout just for that keyboard anyway.
Well, it happened the opposite way around me. Like ever since I learned about Colmac, I'm like the idea of building a keyboard has come into building my own ergonomic keyboard has come into my mind. I have like it's not a long time since I've started learning Colmac. It's like a couple of days, but yeah, I'm seriously considering that.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. Part of the reason why I say about taking the time and learning window managers and everything, as I get older, the mind doesn't keep all of the memory there. So I'm just saying, it's like years ago, it would have been no problem. I could multitask, all the time. I mean, and that's what I did. But, as I get older, no. The multitasking is like if I'm running this show, and the windows that I have to run, that's about all I can do. And that's my limit. Other than that, if I got to do anything worse than that, well, you see the mistakes I make sometimes. So, yeah. So
I'm so glad I'm not alone.
Sai, go ahead.
I want to ask. I want to add just two things. First of all, I'm using a Polish, Bulgarian, and English keyboard. I mean, the Bulgarian keyboard, it means Cyrillic. I don't know if you count this one in a different layout or not. And yeah, it's easy to use with three languages, especially with Cyrillic if you're Bulgarian. But Rocco, especially for you, if you want to try Windows styling managers, and as I see, you're a little bit, you have a blocker, use the keyboard's shortcuts as they are by default. Maybe you should change your mind and first of all, make a short list of key shortcuts that you want to use, even if it's like 3, 4, 5, it doesn't matter. And you should start with them. And then if you are used with these settings, you can expand it with more. For example, I'm using just 3 or 4 shortcuts. It's like for closing applications, for opening few specific applications with their shortcuts. And that's all. And it's easy. So change the way that you think about the shortcuts and then start with small group, like 3, 4, or 5.
That's not a bad idea, Si. That's not a bad idea. Because, 1 or 2 or 3 is probably all I can learn at a time.
And be sure to make them in a way that makes sense. So like, for example, Super plus F opens Firefox, Super B opens Brave, so Super D opens Discord, things like that. Super X closes the window. Yeah, things like that.
Well, I guess we'll have to see. Go ahead, Dave.
I'll say that what got me being able to use i3 was the revelation that for all of the tiling window managers, they always default to the Vim keys, and I've never been a fan of Vim. I've always been nano all the way. And for me to try to remember those, it would be like the X, or no, not even X, the HJK or whatever, and semicolon. I'm like, semicolon, I can't semicolon. But then you figure out that you can just use the arrow keys instead, and that just made everything click with me. So I was able to use that to move my windows around, move them from different workspaces. It just the logic behind using the arrow keys made everything so much easier.
Yeah, I'll second that. i3 felt not horrible when I found out I could super arrow and things go where you kind of expect them to go.
Well, Silent Robot said I'm being lazy. That's nothing to do with age,
Aww.
but I don't know. Like maybe I am. I guess I don't know. Like I just don't have time right now. So there you go. All right. So I talked about Linux Spotlight. I got to make sure I mention that. That's going to every 2 weeks. But I do want to mention that there is going to, and I'm just throwing it out there because, and nobody else is here and nobody else knows, but there is a new podcast coming out soon. Just saying. Just a teaser. Throwing it out there. Keep your eyes out. check this space, as Wimpy would say.
Well, exciting, Rocco. I'm excited.
Have you guys heard of Ventoy?
Oh man.
So I did not ever hear of Ventoy before. And it is an amazing thing to use.
Yeah. Drag and drop ISOs.
Oh my gosh. So okay, so I had bought, I don't know, last year, a year or two, whatever, a 8-pack of USBs, Patriot USBs from Amazon. And they have been wrote over, I guess that's how you say it. I don't know if that's how you say it. They have been rewritten over many times, like billions of times, for many, many, many distros, and they're dying. And every time I try to put a ISO on them, they have some type of error. Like this week, I tried Ubuntu Studio, and I went through like re-downloading the images, checking the hash, doing everything I was supposed to do, and rewriting the multiple USBs, only to figure out, yeah, these USBs are dying. So I ended up having to order another one, and I got a 32 gigabyte ISO or USB. And I was talking to Joe, the new Joe, who's not here today, and he said to me, "Well, have you checked out Ventoy?" And I'm like, "No, I never heard of it." And he mentioned that it was, you put the ISOs on there, and you never have to install the actual ISO onto the disk. You never have to write it on the disk. You just drag and drop the ISO, and it will give you a boot menu. I'm like, this sounds too good to be true. So I downloaded it, and I will say that I did have trouble, because I'm me. I had trouble installing it onto the USB, the actual Ventoy application. For some reason, it kept saying that the -I command was not a valid command. So I don't know. But anyway, I did finally get it installed. Dragged and dropped 3 ISOs on there. Put it in the test machine. Boot up off the USB. And there is basically what looks like a good-looking grub menu with the 3 ISOs that I had on there. It is absolutely fantastic. You guys have to try it. Have you guys heard of it?
This sounds so good. Can you write the name in chat?
Yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a link in the YouTube chat so you can go check it out.
That sounds like too good to be true.
Yeah, and it supports legacy and UEFI. A lot of the other options out there don't support both.
Wow.
I think you may find that Mintcast Moss will be talking about it tomorrow night, because he's been playing around with it a hell of a lot this last week or so.
It's like a distro hopper's dream.
To
not have to write the disk, write to the USB all the time, because we've been checking out all the Ubuntus. So every week I'm rewriting a new ISO on there. Awesome.
Especially when you've got a 64 gigabyte USB.
Right? Well, now I got, like I said, I got a 32 gigabyte USB. I could put how many ISOs on there? So,
hold on, Rocco. I took an old 240 gigabyte SSD and put it in an old external case. So this thing has all the Ubuntu flavors, Farron, Draugr, everything I've learned on it. It has Windows 10 for the couple things that I need to install Windows 10 on for VMs and stuff like that. All of them boot from this without any issue. I've used it. The only issue I've had is with Ventoy is my one laptop. I had to go in and turn off secure boot so that it would read it. That laptop won't read this with secure boot, with the secure boot on. It's still in UEFI mode, but it's not allowed. It doesn't use secure boot. Well, this laptop and my main desktop, they use secure boot with this without any issues whatsoever. This has been a godsend. That program is so simple, and even doing the update on it, I went from .11 to .12 yesterday, and you just plug this back in, go, download the zip file, unzip the zip file, go in and run the script, and just tell it -U and point to this SSD, and a minute later, this thing's up and running, ready to go. it didn't, and I didn't have to undo any of the stuff that was already on there. So I was able to go in and add new stuff.
I did notice something that maybe is maybe not a bug, but maybe something that. So what it does is you can drag and drop ISOs on there, and it will look in that first partition. Even if it's only one partition, it'll look in that first partition for any ISO. So I originally copied over the Ubuntu Studio DVD ISO, and for some reason there was an issue with it, so I deleted it off the USB. But it then goes into your trash folder. So it actually found the new one that I copied and the one in the trash folder when I went to boot off of it. So I had to delete it out of the actual trash files in order to get rid of it completely. But that is one. It shouldn't be looking in trash for an ISO.
It doesn't happen when you use the command line, Rocco.
Thanks, Bill. Appreciate that.
Yeah,
You're so helpful.
Yay, Bill.
If you don't delete it from the trash folder, it also doesn't release the space. So if you've only got, say, a 16 gig drive and it's full, and then you delete one of the ISOs and try to do another one before you've deleted your trash folder, you've not got any space.
Right.
Yeah. One of the things about Rocco is they have their GitHub issues is very active, and if you have an issue with a particular ISO, they're very, very good about troubleshooting and doing releases. Like I think it was just recently they had an issue with Tails, and I think it was about a week after that they did an update so that the Tails ISO would work on it. So they're very active. They're a really good group for any issues you might see. If you just got to report them if you're having an issue, and they're really good about working on it and finding. They have a whole list of ISOs that have been tested and working. So I mean, yeah, check out their GitHub page. It's really, really good.
Bill, did you just tell me to nicely file a bug? Is that what you just told me?
Well, I mean, you should always file bugs. But just need to get. It legitimately. They can't know that their product doesn't work with something because there's how many thousands of ISOs out there. Yeah, and it works. I think it was Easy What Coder was saying, and it works fine with Windows. Mm-hmm. It may even. Allegedly, it even could be used for a Hackintosh that somebody may have booted up. I don't know about that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's really, really, really a nice program. And so if you're doing any kind of thing like ISO testing for the Ubuntu flavors, it's really great for that because you can do something with the Z-Sync, throw it on there, boom, just go, and you don't have to worry about any of the stuff you've mentioned about your drives failing because you're rewriting them all the time. Yeah. And
I have we've used different ISOs on mine.
But MC, I never really thought about, like, after I saw that, I'm like, oh yeah, I just associated it with a USB. I never thought about using an external hard drive because it acts the same way, that you could just put as many ISOs as you wanted on it.
Right. Well, and one of the things I've been watching, Wimpy has his YouTube channel. He was talking about running, using Bash to run QEMU using external SSDs and such to actually run the virtual machines so that it's running super snappy like it was loaded internally, but it's an external drive and you're not wasting your laptop's internal drive space on VMs. Yep. When you're doing testing and all this other stuff. So that's what started me on the idea. And then it was like, well, now I still need a, because I do all kinds of testing with all kinds of different things. So it's like, it's nice to have them and reinstall them. And I did like you did. I actually went about a year ago and bought 2 10-packs of USB 2 8 gigabyte USBs, and I had them all loaded up. And even still, it was like, oh, I got to update this and update that. And which one had what, or this one got missing and stuff like that. So it was just nice. I've always wanted a universal installer.
Yes.
And using multi-pen or some other things, there was always lots of different issues. Some of the stuff worked great, but other stuff didn't work at all. And with this, this has been great. I haven't had any issues with any of the distros I've tried with it.
Well, Michael Tennell did it on This Week in Linux, talked about it. I didn't realize it. Dan Simmons had sent me the link after I said I was going to try it, and he actually did an in-depth type talk about Ventoy, how to do it, what to use, and what to do with it. And if you want to go check his show out, 105, I I guess the episode number.
I could use that 3 weeks ago when I was working my way through how to use it.
Monica, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying that that might be helpful, especially what Bill was saying made me think of this, since a lot of our documentations on how to make how to put an ISO on bootable media is for people who are really brand new. And if we have ways that are intuitive and easy for them, rather than them having some convoluted process that they're going to give up on, then that's not only good for those of us who are testing ISOs like mad, but also for people who are like, hey, I want to try to install this on my computer. And so I think that it also has a net positive there.
Now we just need Popey to snap
Definitely.
this up. Just saying. Throwing it out there. Osa, go ahead.
So I just downloaded the Ventoy application on Linux, and I did the -I Ventoy install to my USB drive. So do I just drag and drop my ISOs into the USB into the drive, and it just works?
Did you get a successful
Yeah.
completion?
Yeah.
Then yes, then you can drag your ISOs anywhere on that partition, and it'll find them
from my GUI file manager.
Yep.
Okay, that's so cool. I'm hyped.
That is so cool. I agree.
Yeah.
And what happens, like I said, you get this nice looking screen where you can check out. I mean, I had Ubuntu Mate on there and Ubuntu Budgie and Ubuntu Studio. So you just boot into either one of them, and it'll just bring up their screen. So it is the distro hopper's dream. Just saying.
Yeah, right. Like I said, I've got 30 on mine so far, and I still got another 160 gigabytes left. So I'm sure I'll get a lot more on there.
One of the really good things about it is for emergencies. So you can have stuff like Clonezilla, the gpar.iso, or any of the other rescue tools out there. So instead of worrying about having like a specific USB that you have, oh, I need this, or I'm somewhere, you can have all this stuff on one ISO and just have it available. And if you need to do Clonezilla or something, it really makes it easy.
That's great.
Yeah, back when so much easier because it could just have 50 ISOs already on a drive ready to install the latest one that you're going to talk about.
Yeah, back when I did a lot more admin work, this would have been a godsend because I had 3 or 4 different versions of Windows that I had on a stick. I mean, yeah, admin Windows, right? But and I literally had to carry around 4 different flash drives and DVDs at the time, and that was just horrible. So this is the new version I see supports WIMs, so the window images, and these are the ones that you can edit in DISM and have exactly the software that you want to on them. Boot up exactly how you need it to, or if it's just recovery tools that you want. It sounds like it supports just raw WIMs, so you don't even need the ISO for Windows anymore. You just throw the WIM in there and let it handle it. Custom ones from DISM, so it's really nice. This is a really good tool.
Yep. So somebody might have went into Windows and installed it on the flash drive because you couldn't get it to work in Linux, but I'm just throwing it out there. It does work on Windows or Linux. But like I said, I did the same exact thing. I copied the commands, copied and pasted from the internet into the terminal. And
say it ain't so. Copied and pasted?
For I don't know, for whatever reason, it said that the -I and the -U, -I, not dash, one of them was not found. So, it just would not install for me. So I did what any person would do.
I think you did what I did, Rocco, initially. These brackets around several different... Yeah, well, you've got to delete the ones that aren't applicable and take away the brackets.
Maybe they should tell you that, Tony.
Yeah, I made the same mistake.
See, these are the things you learn. Oh well, what are you gonna do? All right, what do you guys have? What do you want to bring up? I'm throwing it out there. I ain't touching it. I ain't saying nothing. Go ahead. It's all yours.
Plasma 519.
Yes.
Anybody tried? Anybody using?
No.
Sorry, I missed it.
Fabulous. Works like a dream. Very pretty, smooth, slick, beautiful. What more can one say? They've done a fabulous job with this one.
Well, were there any improvements specific that you noticed over 518?
For me, stability. 518 to me was tiny bit buggy. 519 has gone straight onto the desktop with a install of Endeavour and no issues whatsoever. So I was going to do a video about it this week, but I ran short of time. But some of the noticeable improvements, and I've made a few notes on this one. For me, they've made some improvements to the panel. So now you can space quite easily, and it automatically centers widgets, which is something I'm quite happy about. They've got some brilliant improvements to the look of the system tray applets, notification improvements as well. The default font size has now come up from 9 to 10 points, which is something I'm quite pleased about, easy on the eye for me. There's some new layouts to the global shortcuts. System settings applications as well. You can now run those from KRunner. So that is something that is also very good to use. And apparently using KRunner now, you can open up any module on any page that you've asked for. So if you just basically ask it to, outside of an application, but I don't know, if you ask it to look at a widget, for example, then yeah, you can run that straight from KRunner. And it's definitely got more great. Oh yes, now the animations as well. Now I would say probably the animations for me is much smoother in 519, partly because the slider bar that you normally see within the settings that enables you to change the speed from slow to fast. They only went in quarters, I think, in the previous installations. This time they go in eighths or sixteenths, so you can actually slide your mouse across to get a bit more precision over the animation speeds. So that's something that I was very happy to see in 519. Plus, there's just absolutely lots more improvements from font configurations through to sticky notes usability as well. They've made some usability improvements there, and more control over volume control as well. So the on-screen sliders that you see, there's a bit more control over that. So I think I'm using Pulse Audio for mine, so I'm yet to see what that looks like in ALSA. But apparently you're able now to also uninstall Flatpaks very easily through Discover. So that's just my take on 519.
It sounds like everything that you had on that list, I was already pretty good with. I'm like, yeah, no, that was fine already. So it's better now.
All I can say is my machine loves it.
Awesome.
Yeah, they just fixed a lot of the visual paper cuts, as it were, and added a lot of little intricacies of functionality, like new icons for your avatar, new desktop wallpaper, which is really nice. It's beautiful, actually.
Yep. Well, I think, Jill, you mentioned paper cuts, and I think that's kind of like the one thing that drove me away from Plasma, because I always loved Plasma, but it was all those little tiny paper cuts. I don't know. I keep saying I'm going to try it again, but the last time I tried it, everything was great. It looked awesome, had all these new features, and then the system settings crashed on me, which was not a huge deal, but the system settings crashed, and then I went to I got the same old lockout type thing where I went to go up to the panel locked up.
Yes.
There's nothing you can do. Like, I can't hit no buttons. I can't hit no key combinations to get to a terminal. I can't log out. I can't reboot. Like there's nothing you can do to get, and it's like, you got to be kidding me. Like I mean,
It's
I love,
2020, right?
I know, I love plasma, but you
I
still
know.
got this problem. It's like, I never run into that issue in running GNOME, and that's kind of where I'm at. I'm not trying to poo-poo on plasma, because I really do love plasma, but I just wish that thing wouldn't happen.
Now you have the chance to test it out on that new laptop.
Right? Look at this thing,
Yeah.
dude. Like, this is fantastic. It even has a Kubuntu logo on the
nice
Windows key. So, yeah. This is absolutely fabulous. And I'm going to dig into it, but not right now. We're doing a
It'd
show,
be interesting to hear as well, given the fact that you've now got the focus there. You'll be running an older version of Plasma first of all, so you need to
5.18.5, I think it is, Robin.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not sure if the Focus people have actually pushed 5.19 to the repositories yet, but it'll be interesting to see how you work with that on 5.18.5. Because Tyler, when he was using his Focus on his test, he was saying it was kind of a bit flaky on 5.18. So 5.19 probably would be a vast improvement for you, but it'd be interesting to see. But obviously the panel is on the right-hand side, so it'd be interesting to hear how easily configurable that is if you need to change it at all.
Well, I mean, being KD, I'm sure that you can change it, but you know, that struck me funny when I first saw that. And I'm like, why would they have the panel on the right-hand side? But as I'm looking back with the way Unity was designed and hearing Popey talk about Unity where everything was on the left, and that's why the close buttons were on the left, it kind of reminded me of the same thing, where the panels on the right, close buttons are on the right, your system tray basically is up on the right, everything is on the right. So it's kind of like that same mentality, and I really never looked at it that way, but it struck me funny when I saw that, because it is different to have the panel on the right.
Doesn't Chaos Linux have, which runs KDE? I think they have the panel on the right too.
I think you may be right, Dave. It's been a while since I tried KS, but I think you're right.
Yeah, Dave, you're spot on. Yeah, KOS does have the panel on the right.
Yep. So we'll see how I make out with it. I don't know. You know, like I said, I love Plasma. Always have. It's just, it wants to keep me away for some reason. For some reason, it just wants. Now, it may be completely different because, see, this is not my machine. This is just a test machine, which means that it might work perfectly. Now, if it was mine, it might not work perfectly, but out. All right. So I was going to talk about Thomas and his server issues, but he is not here, so that puts that out. Somebody had said, you know, oh, Robin, you had said earlier about, you know, what people do when they first install a system. Like, they don't go to the update manager.
Yeah.
They go to, say, putting software on. What do you guys do? What is the first thing that you do? How many of you, I should say, goes to the update manager first thing after install?
I do.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
In
you are
most
all
cases,
good Linux
though,
users.
Sudo EOP package up.
Yeah, exactly. And in most cases, though, does not the distribution prompt you pretty much within a minute or two of booting up? So many packages are now available to update.
Ignore.
I get enjoyment. I turn on my computer every day. I'm like, ooh, what new updates I'm going to get? This is so exciting.
Exactly. Yeah. See, you, Dave, you and I are on the same page.
You should run Pop OS. I swear Pop OS has updates every single day. I mean, it's almost like running Arch. I don't know why, and I don't know what's updating, but man, they have a ton of updates.
This is exactly why I could never be an Arch user. I click ignore way too much, and Manjaro to a lesser extent. I'm gonna come back to my computer, decide to do updates, and all of a sudden everything is broken. So
yeah,
being a Solus user, I love Fridays.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. With Pop, I think.
What was that, Rocco?
They update every Friday.
Every Friday.
Yeah.
The cadence to that, then, though. So I think that would be manageable for me.
Yep. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Dave.
Rocco, I just do it once a week. That
once
way,
a week?
you know. Yeah.
I don't know, but like I said, it popped. No lie, I swear, if it's not popping up every single day, it's popping up. It may miss one day. Other than that, it is popping up every single day with an update.
They do, yes.
I think with Pop OS, they have so much of their software now is run by Flatpaks that the software, the applications get updated so much faster because of that.
So Rocco, you're saying Pop OS pops?
It does, Bill.
Yeah.
It pops with updates all the time.
Hey, Rocco, if you use an X window manager, though, you don't have to worry about that.
Wow.
No.
Wow.
Jill, you're banned.
Right. Now, but for the first time, I think it's the first time since I've been using Pop, the last update, when it updated, I guess it went to a new kernel for some reason. I don't know why.
Well, 5.7's been released this week, so I don't know if they're maybe getting ready for that.
To be honest with you, I didn't even see which version of the kernel it was. All I know is now I have a new grub screen, basically. I know they don't use grub, but like a screen like that to say if I want to use the new kernel or the old kernel. So it must have been updated. And that's the first time that's ever happened to me on Pop. So,
well, that's strange because it happens to me all the time. But yeah, 5.7's come out this week, but I've not seen any prompts on my machine yet to get that upgraded. I'm still on 5.6 here.
Ooh, I use Uku on Linux Mint, and I've been on 5.7 for about a week. Well, I don't know. However, it was the day after they released it that I hopped on it, and it's been running pretty fantastic for me.
Yeah, and no issues?
Not a single one. The thing that I was worried about was whether or not my video card was still gonna, work. 5.4 enabled it. 5.5 made it awesome. 5.6 made it amazing, and 5.7 didn't change anything, so it didn't get better or worse or anything like that.
Nice.
That's interesting.
So if you guys do update right away, and that's the first thing you do, except for Leo, because Leo lives on the edge, what is the second thing that you guys do after installing the system?
For me, it'd be install the software I need for podcasting. So Audacity, various other pieces of software, Mumble, things like that. Zoom for this. Get all the software that I need that isn't installed out of the box.
See, I'm torn between installing software. I think I would probably go for like customizing it to the way I want it and then going for the software because it would be more familiar.
Anyway.
Well, yeah, I don't do a whole lot of it, but there is certain things I do, like one or two things.
I'm always updating themes and icons to make it look pretty. Like the first.
Yeah, on a fresh system, it's pretty quick that I have to go get Lutris and Steam and start downloads of all the games that I'm probably going to be playing in the next few weeks. So that takes a while. And then while it's downloading, customization, yeah.
Yep.
But I think for Mint, this is just on first glance with the 20 build this week. For me, there wasn't really much to do in terms of customization for theming side of things. I just went straight in there with the updates and downloaded the software that I wanted. But on other distros, I'm straight in there doing the updates, and then I'll go straight into customizing the theme.
Yep. I throw the only thing I do customization wise on Mint is I throw the bar to the top instead of the bottom, and then move the clock to the middle. That's pretty much about it. And pick my color. Not a fan of the green. I know. I know, but I go with blue.
Well,
I'm the purple.
We tried Kubuntu, a couple weeks ago, and as soon as I installed it, I remembered all of the good things about KDE and what you could do. So I went like crazy and doing all this stuff, and then it kind of broke it, I guess. So it's probably best if I don't customize it, but that's what I do.
How many forms did you have to fill out, Rocco, for them to send you this focus?
I don't know why they would do something like that.
What you are going to do with this is going to be awesome, because you will give them the beta test they've never had before.
Yeah,
I will definitely put it through the ringer and see how it turns out. So
if it survives Rocco, it'll survive anyone.
But like I said, Bill, it may work perfectly because it's really not my machine. So it's only my machines that are possessed sometimes. And, to be honest with you, we joke about it, but I don't know. I mean, it could be like for KDE, it could be my specific hardware with, maybe the NVIDIA drivers, the proprietary NVIDIA drivers installed that causes KDE to have some glitches or whatever. But no lie, I can make KDE crash on command. Like I know exactly what I can do to make it crash. So, and it happens every time, and it's happened every time since I've been using KDE. Before I used to ignore it. Now I can't always ignore it. So, yeah.
Well, KDE is bad, so that's not.
It's not bad. It really isn't, Big Pod. It really isn't. It is absolutely fabulous for certain use cases. For me anymore, it's not there, but it really is a great desktop environment. We probably wouldn't have some of the features we have in Linux desktop environments if it wasn't for KDE innovating it first, and then other desktop environments put it in. So.
But have anyone tried Linux Lite in the last couple of weeks? Because I've noticed there's a lot of elements of KDE, obviously it's XQt there as well. When I was testing that out myself a couple of weeks back, I almost felt like I was using KDE. I don't know how anybody else felt, but yeah, that's just the general gist I got when I was using it.
Well, I listened to Linux Unplugged the other day, and last week, I guess it was, and was their episode of their second show that they recorded, and they were doing that distro thing, and Chris was talking about Linux Lite, I believe, and I haven't tried it in a long time, but I don't know if he
that was Sparky. That was Sparky.
Yeah, it was
it
Sparky? Yeah.
No, I thought it was Linux Lite.
No, it was Sparky.
Sparky.
Oh, okay. Well, then never mind. Delete my last transmission.
I love Linux Lite, and that was going to be another one that I suggested on the show. But I was telling Chris that Sparky was one of my favorites too.
And I think this version 5 of Lite is the LTS version, so that's probably why this one really shines out from version 4.
Yep. Well, Robin, just so you know, I just checked. It's on 5.4 kernel, Pop! OS says. So it's not a brand new one, but it was updated recently as far as that goes. So
well, there was a kernel update this week. So
well, maybe they just
as of vulnerabilities.
Well, maybe they just did it differently as far as like being able to boot back into it. I don't know.
Well, you just warned me then. So when I boot my daughter's laptops up tomorrow to do the update, because they haven't updated Pop in weeks, it's probably going to take an hour to do.
It's going to be a lot of updates. All right. It is 5 o'clock. That is the hour that we got to get out of here because we got another show in 3 hours. But everybody gets the last word. So, Peter, last word.
Okay. In a different reality, I am currently sitting in a bar in Charlotte, North Carolina, in a hotel with all these geeks around me. I really wish I was there itself. And Noah is doing a fantastic job with Nixie Pixel as well, doing virtual self. I watched a lot of it last night. I've not had much time today. Currently, there's a guy talking about the best desktop environment. So I want to hear what they're talking about, Budgie.
Okay, very nice. And that is linuxdelta.com, I think.
I think it is, yeah.
To get there.
Yeah. It's quite easy to find.
Yeah. Bearded Wonder, go ahead. Last word. I think. Tony, Bearded Wonder.
Hey, Tony.
Hello. I don't think he can hear us anymore. All right, we'll get back to you. Tony, go ahead.
I've got nothing to say.
Got nothing to say,
installed.
Dude.
Yes, it's installed, of course. that was going to be the one thing I did say, but
Tony,
because of the before we started chat, I'm not allowed to say anything else.
You're allowed to say whatever you want.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, thanks for doing the show. Oh, no, sorry. I can't say that.
Can't say that.
No, it's the European edition's good. Loved it. Didn't have a lot to say. Some of the conversation, I have to be honest, I found boring. The window managers thing just doesn't do anything for me. I have enough trouble with Linux ordinarily without trying to do window managers. Just you think you're too old, Rocco, to do stuff. It's 10 times worse for me, trust me.
I don't know.
Anyway, I look forward.
Telling me it's not age, Tony, so.
Yeah, but he's a youngster to me, and so are you. So, you know, I can't remember what I said 2 minutes ago, let alone what I'm supposed to be doing in 2 minutes' time. So it's difficult. But anyway, I look forward to the next show in 3 hours. I should hopefully still be awake to join you. And care till then.
All right. Sai, last word.
Just to confirm that I'm using GNOME also as a tiling manager, so it works the same way if you use the shortcut. But thank you. This is my favorite time of the month. Hope to see you again in a month. Bye, guys.
MC, last word.
Oh, I think with everything going on with Linux Mint, it has to come off my suggestion list of new distros. I think that anything that, for something that uses as much of Ubuntu's backbone as it does, for it to be so almost anti-canonical-ish in how it handles things, I think that's sort of a slap in the face to ride on their coattails, but then, you know, push it against it. I'd love this. Unlike Tony, I love the discussion about the window managers. It definitely makes me want to. It keeps tweaking something that makes me want to kind of go, maybe I need to try Awesome, or maybe I need to try one of these in a VM and see what it's like. And I'm glad you brought up Ventoy. I wanted to bring up Ventoy because it was one of those things that's just, wow, this changes how I do things. This is a game changer for how I do things. So, and looking forward to the 8 p.m. normal edition.
Nice. Big Pod, last word.
Okay, time for me to say something inspiring. I don't have anything except, Rocco, you're not old. You're not old. And, well, this won't be inspiring, but everybody, please check out my channel, on YouTube. I am Big Pod. You can find me on YouTube.
Nice. Harris, last word.
Thank you for the stream. I had a good time discussing this week, and look forward to next time.
Jill?
Yay! This has been so much fun, and it's so nice to see my Biddle family at least once a month on the European edition. And thank you, Rocco, again. And I'm looking forward to seeing what Rocco has in the works for a new show. It's going to be awesome.
No details provided.
Cool. Love you all, and stay healthy and safe.
Robin, last word.
Great. Thanks as always. It's a pleasure to be here every month for joining you guys. Nice to see you all nice and well out there. We've got some lockdown restrictions being eased on Monday, so hopefully we should start to see some form of normality returning next week, hopefully. So with some of our shops are open, but still, I'm not on camera tonight. Partly, you don't want to see my haircut, I tell you. But one thing that hasn't been brought up tonight, Elementary 6 is coming. Last word from me.
All right, Monica, last word.
I just want to say it was really fun to actually hang out with all of you. And so all of you in Europe will hopefully see you next month, except for those of you who are able to power through and stay up late night. See you in a couple hours. Going to go make some dinner. So, hey, Rocco, anytime you want to talk about food, always talk about food. Bill, Bill knows. So anyway, thanks for letting me come play with all of you. It was very fun.
Well, you are welcome anytime. All right, Bill, last word.
So a couple things. First of all, if you tune into Self right now, Computer Kid is doing a presentation. So if you want to watch that on your side monitor, he's doing the desktop. Computer Kid, you know him from here and from
that time. Okay.
And then Monica, thank you for coming. It's great to have you on here. Monica, if you don't know Monica is part of the Ubuntu Mate team. So it's really awesome to have her and have her ideas here. So that's it. Take care, everyone.
Yep. And she may or may not be on an upcoming spotlight at some point. Just saying.
Yay, Monica. Awesome.
Dave Jones, last word.
Thanks, Rocco, for being a great host. I really enjoyed the conversations we had. This was my first BDLL European edition. It was a lot of fun. Glad I was able to make it. I love the conversation about window managers. I was saying I really love i3, but my library had actually begun to reopen, so I had to go back to work, and I actually didn't want to run Arch on my computer in there, so I put Pop! OS. So I'm actually running Pop! OS, and I'm trying the tiling functions on there. You're right, it is a little glitchy, and I'm hoping that they'll put some work into it and make it something that's really, really fun to use.
Yep. Leo, last word.
Yeah, I really dug the window manager stuff. I'm going to be diving into a lot of that here in just a little bit for the rest of the night, probably. But the bigger thing, I think, is we all have our opinions and we all love to express them. If you listen to me, you know that I'm really guilty of that, right? But let's remember to be good to each other when we do that.
Very nice. Jason, last word.
Well, hopefully my microphone is working.
It is.
I had to switch computers. That's why I was going in and out on the earlier, because the one computer would not pick up the microphone for the life of it. So I switched computers to a different system. I'm actually remoted into that system, going that way because it's way over there. Oh, the life of having, you're worried about your Windows and stuff. I'm over here worried about which computer I'm going to use. But I do appreciate, the ability to be able to come on and listen to everybody have a nice discussion, civil discussion on Linux or, Windows managers or whatever the case may be. I've never used a Windows manager. I have enough screens and Windows. I don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. And I was going to mention, Rocco, to you, as I was surprised when you said you only have one monitor. I was like, how do you survive?
I went down to one monitor. I used to have two, and I loved two, but
I have 10.
Yes, but I only have like a space this big, dude, this big. That's it. That's all I got. And I have, the test machine and everything else. So it's like I don't have space for a second one.
Look behind me.
Yes, I know, but I don't want to look behind me for the second one.
No, stack them.
Oh, there is a stacked monitor here. So, yeah.
Well, anyway, but yeah, oh, here comes Cat. All right, and that'll be good. That's where we'll end it there with the cat in the way.
All right, Bearded Wonder, are you there?
Thanks, Rocco. Just to say, during the discussion of KDE, we're recording distro hoppers on Wednesday, and I've been running the 2004 Kubuntu for the last month on the distro hoppers machine. So I'll be talking about KDE and my experience of using it over the last month. Just to say, as a spoiler, it's pretty solid. I don't know where you get all your crashes from, Rocco.
I told you it's my machines. Just saying.
But it's great to be back. I have missed the show, but I've been having problems sleeping, so disturbing my sleep till 3 o'clock in the morning wasn't wise for the last month. But I'll try and jump into the American one, the 8 p.m. your time one sometime in the next month, hopefully before the next Euro. And good night to everyone, and see you around again soon.
All right. So as Tony just mentioned, the next BDLL Europe is, I believe, if I'm checking the calendar right, July 11th. So you can mark your calendars for that. Other than that, there isn't much to end with, except for we will see you in a couple hours. Until then, long live Linux.
Hey.
Bye, everybody. Good night, everybody. Or afternoon, depending on